Listen here, you gits. It's time for Combat Patrol Carnage.
Hello and welcome back to Combat Patrol Carnage, and it's time for us to build the big and stompy and very killy Deff Dread. So we're kicking off issue 49 and it brings us the first part of our final unit for the Orks. So in the issue we get the build guide for the Deff Dread, and we can kind of get started with this issue alone. We can at least put the main body together and then add the decorative items later on once we get the final frame in issue 50. We've got a good full build guide. There's all the options, so you can build it any way you want. The magazine paint guide will of course show you how to build the basic version you see on the front cover. But yeah, you can choose any of the weapons you want. Combat Patrol is limited to the rocket launchers and the 3 claws, but you can sort of have them on any which way you want. For our lore articles, we have the Anatomy of an Ork. We learn about the different types of armour found across the 41st millennium. We have the battle record, so we can name our Deff Dread. And then we have a bonus, as we have not just the faction abilities, but all the Combat Patrol rules as well for the Orks. So we learn about Waaagh, their enhancements, secondaries and stratagems. And finally we have our last Combat Patrol mission, Display of Might, which we'll be playing in this issue's battle report once we roll off to see which of the 4 armies that have complete combat patrols we'll be playing. So we get 2 frames in this issue. We've got the 2 main halves of the body plus the sort of back section there. We also get all the exhausts and engine components plus his feet and the 2 of the weapons. We've got the rocket launchers here and we've got the shock attack guns plus one of the claws. On the other frame we got 2 claw arms, we've got the big shooters, we've got the boss pole, the top of the hatch, some of the armor plates of the shoulders and some extra bits to add on for exhaust and stuff, plus ball joints for various different parts to add on later on. So yeah, lots of awesome pieces, plus we have the skull faceplate, which the magazine will be telling us to use. Don't worry, I won't be making you sit through me building this with no sound. I'm going to pick out something nice from Ben Sounds, hopefully something orky to play as we build. But yeah, going to be an interesting build guide, very in-depth and very characteristic of the Orks. This is a very ramshackle design, so it's pretty cool and I'm expecting it to fall to pieces. So before we do all that, don't forget to of course do all the usual. Like this video if you want to join the Combat Patrol content. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of it, and don't forget to of course drop me a comment down below. Is there any particular faction you want to see a fight of, either from the collection or from my own personal combat patrols? As I've mentioned before, I've got quite a few. Grey Knights, Sisters of Battle, Chaos Space Marines, both the old and the new one I should be able to make up. I just need to get some Possessed. The Blood Angels, and a few others besides. So let me know in the comment section if you want to see a fight between any of those, and I'll work my magic and get one done. Finally then, Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by Warhammer.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They stock everything you need from getting started to expanding your force to all your highlighting colours and your basing details as well. They also stock past and present partworks from Hachette, including Combat Patrol, and as recently revealed, the upcoming Spearhead for Age of Sigmar. And I'll be putting out a post about that. It's probably already out by now. But yeah, I'm not going to be collecting it, sadly. I'm going to focus mainly on 40k. It's the only system I really enjoy. Might start doing more Kill Team content, Combat Patrol content, and I'll hopefully get the Ultimate Starter Set finished off once this magazine is completed. So yeah, check out Warhammer.shop. There's a link as usual in the video description, and you might find your next hobby project at a bit of a discount.
Right, pass me Miss Spanner. I've got to get this dread built.
So here we are with issue 49 for the first time, and we've got our frames. So our first frame here has the main two halves of the body. We got bits of the toes, we got the legs as well. We got some of the optional guns, so we got the custom mega blasters here. We got various different exhausts. We got the main back part of the body here as well, which sort of sandwiches between these two. We got the engine-y bits that go to the side of our Deff Dread. We got one of the rocket launchers. There's another one on a future frame. And one of the claw arms as well there. Pretty cool. Nice little bits and bobs. And finally then, on that other frame here, we've got the top hatch here of our Deff Dread. We've got our boss pole. We've got the big shooters if you want to go for the big shooter option. We've got another claw arm here. We've got more parts of the actual body. We've got loads of extra plates. We've got optional components here. So we've got these sets of eyes here, or this visor. We've got some shoulder optional pieces here. We've got another arm and another claw arm extension piece there. And yeah, we've got the faceplate that we're going to be using, which is the awesome skull faceplate. We've got ammo boxes for the big shooters if we equip the big shooters. And we've got these little ball joints here, which are what's used to attach the guns with. So yeah. All in all, really cool looking frame. Very orky indeed. Right then, let's get into our magazine. We'll have a flick through the build guide quickly, and then we can get on and bring this guy in and start building. So I'll adjust the camera and we can dive right on in. Into issue 49 we go then. So first off, we're greeted with our build guide. We have two reading pages of our anatomy of an orc, as well as looking at armor. We have a collect page for the Deff Dread, so we get to name our pilot. Then for our play articles, we've got the Ork faction abilities, the Ork Combat Patrol rules, and Display of Might is our core mission, our final one for the Combat Patrol Basic 6. So, how to build our Deff Dread. So in this guide, you'll learn how to build your new Deff Dread. Read the instructions in full before you begin. So we are luckily a fairly up-to-date kit which uses numbers, so check your numbers, match up, remove your mold lines, glue your components and press them together, holding firmly until the glue has had time to set. So start by building the main body here. Parts 5, 2, 6, 7 and 1 make up the main chassis there. We've got our engine blocks here, so we've got one for the left, one for the right side. We then get to choose our style of feet. So the magazine has these little claws, or you can have these really big stompy ones, entirely up to you. You then have the choice of face plates. So the magazine wants us to use the skull and teeth tusk jaw here. But you could, if you want to, use the more bionic eye facing one, or the single slit and this big iron gob. Then it wants us to choose whether we're going to go for left or right assembly on our weapons. So we've got the arm here for one option. So blue is our basic and green is our optional. So this is going to be the right side claw arm, or else you could have it optionally the right sided missile launcher. You've got a little panel to glue in and then glue in our ball joint. But we're going to go for the left-sided missile launcher. But then you also got this claw arm here if you wanted to go for the left-sided claw. So yeah, options if you want to do things whichever way you want. Then we attach on our arms as we choose. So it shows our completed model there or there. Then we got our left and right main arms. We've got 3 different head options, but the magazine shows us to use 24 and 10. These glue in place. Then we got armor panel plates to glue in. We got shoulder pads and extra armor pieces as well to glue in. Plus all these little extra glyphs, which are totally optional, but add some really cool flavor to our model. And again, more optional little panels. You can choose which ones you want to add. You've got extra tusks and teeth as well. So it just shows where they should be going if you want to glue them on. And then glue our model down to the base, which is the 60mm round base there. Right then, it's going to be a long one, but let's get on and build our Deff Dread. gluing him down to his base, we have our finished Deff Dread. And my, that was a arduous task. So looking at the recorder, that was, yeah, just nearly an hour. It's 1 hour 7 minutes, but it took 10 minutes ish for the introduction before I started getting started. So yeah, we'll round it down to an hour's work building. Now he's ready, and we'll be ready for our lore articles. We've got quite a lot to go through in our next video, but for now, that is it. Our Deff Dread is not sticking to his base very well, but yeah, he's ready, built. Up next is, once it's fully dry, I'm going to give him a blast with some Chaos Black spray, or well, matte black spray from Colourforge. And yeah, he'll be ready for our paint guide in issue 50. So there we go, that's everything for this video. I'm going to leave this guy off to the side to dry, and then we'll continue filming the rest of the issue. I think I'll be doing that this afternoon, because I think, yeah, my phone's going to need a charge. So all that's left for me to do then is to say thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this build video, rather interesting in-depth build video. Yeah, there's going to be quite a few more like this in the future. We've got some really complex kits. We've got the rock grinder, which I've built before, and yeah, that was not an easy build. I got so much glue over those buzzsaws at the front. Oh boy. Other complex builds we've got yet to come. I haven't touched the Astra Militarum stuff, but I have built the siege gun for the Krieg, so I don't think the rocket batteries and stuff will be too bad to build. The Sentinel I haven't built yet, so that's going to be a new job for me. As for the Leaves of Votan, most of the stuff is fairly easy. We've got some bikes, we've got some infantry, so yeah, they're not going to be too hard to build. Like I said, it's just going to be the rock grinder for the Genius of the Cults. Some of the stuff for the Astra Militarum is going to be quite complex to build. And then we've got the Mauler Fiend at the very end of the collection. I might have to build my one that I got in my storage just to practice ready for that. It's not too bad a build. It's a lot of chunky components going together, and then smaller bits added on afterwards. And that will be going towards my Emperor's Children, who can use them. But there we go. That is it finally. One last time, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time for more Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.